Who is your competition?
I think there's a number of really savvy companies that are looking for the same type of solution that we are driving through today. A couple of big themes are going to be companies that already match personally identifiable information and create a linkage between two parties by holding it behind a very tight and secure wall. I think the challenge those companies are going to have going forward is the fact that they do, by definition, store information that could re-identify someone in a future state. So it's a delicate balance of the business they're going to have to be in. I believe, the most kind of current competition around providing insights is again divided between research companies on the measurement or closed loop effectiveness side and current data management platforms. I think the data management platforms have made a career about providing very insightful and direction-rich data. They're going to have to go through an evolution, though, about proving that the data and the tens of thousands of segments they have been verified, just like viewability has been verified in their segments. And that means that we're going to have to go beyond marketing terms and keywords and really effective-looking lookbooks in order to help everybody make the best decisions. I think the agencies and the research companies that are looking to provide insights are not going to be competition for people like Commerce Signals, because we ultimately are empowering them to work directly with the source of the data in an aggregated and safe and secure way. And so I think that they're going to be accelerators, not detractors from the momentum of first-party data being used on behalf of advertisers.
Data is becoming more and more pervasive, and I know we talk about privacy compliant and anonymization, but do you think that there is a blurring line for the individual consumer in the area of privacy in terms of monitoring their purchases and their behaviors?
Sure. I think it's interesting. I see companies like Amazon that don't pull any punches about exactly how much they know about you, and they do that in an appropriate exchange, in my opinion, about past purchases and the right type of suggestions. But when you come to a site like that, you see your name clearly presented, as Jeff Bezos and others have said, right there, center screen. I think,
and you've opted in.
And you've opted in. And I think in the e-commerce realm, that is going to become increasingly easier to get consumers comfortable with the idea of how they're exchanging value. I'm not sure on the media side how exactly that's going to evolve when you think about the majority of people not being particularly mobile phone ready or savvy, but certainly very heavy users of the content. I can tell you on the data side, there's simply no more important issue than privacy, which is the reason why, Commerce Signals, like others, have focused on very precise enablement of controls on a buyer-by-buyer use case. So I don't think that it's ever going to become a problem that people are going to solve quickly about getting consumers to consciously understand every moment of action and interaction they have. But I do think the data sources are looking for tools to only allow the right type of buyer for the right use case for the appropriate exchange of value going forward.
We have a currency in television, ratings from Nielsen, and with your background in Nielsen, I know you're familiar with that. And the work you're doing now is really monitoring ROI and sales. Where do you think the future lies for content measurement of video television in particular?
Sure. I believe it's going to be a compromise. I think the reality that oftentimes some advertisers look short of is that it's as much about building intent as it is certainly understanding the people that are transacting and purchasing. My view on Nielsen is they're going to meet in the middle. They have a very strong and deep legacy in understanding that the amount of time and the type of folks that are watching and consuming content, no matter how that hardware definition changes and that signal definition changes. Nielsen has also invested in things like Nielsen Catalina solutions in areas like consumer packaged goods to close that group and also present a different view on media, like buyer graphics, meaning how someone shops as opposed to the demographic attributes we're historically used to, like age and gender and income. I think the future is going to be a hybrid of that, and it's going to be dictated by the advertiser's focus on, am I trying to find the people that are going to be things like the heaviest shoppers of travel, or do I need to close the loop and understand the last mile of how my media was effective for my closest consumers that were willing to convert?
Where do you think the future of data will be 5 years from now?
Love those questions, because I think that the interesting shift we see is twofold. One, we see a shift from the power and the value of data going from the buyer to the seller. It's becoming clear as more and more companies understand that everything from ticket sales to downloads to redemption to very literal behavior like credit and debit card transactions on the rise, that data deterministically linked to the source and the actual consumer is going to be the thing that dictates the value of the media and the enthusiasm of the advertiser and the agency to buy on an ongoing basis. So big theme number one is shift from buyer of inventory of media impressions to seller of a very particular insight with very fresh and clear data. I also believe, and this is not a lone opinion from folks like Adobe, that there is a second-party data market on the rise. And all that simply means, for those less familiar, is first-party data owners, meaning the direct collectors of the actual source or insight, being willing to sell those insights directly to another party. Why I love this trend is it's going to form a cooperative mentality so that people that don't overlap, let's say, in the retailer mindset of geographic footprint, are going to be more interested in coming together and sharing that data. And I believe we're going to see this very exciting trend where people that own, let's say, 10 or 20% of the industry's view on how shoppers buy something like consumer electronics or airline tickets is going to start to work in co-opetition with other data sets that also own 10 or 20%. And we're going to move away from stretching those very rich but small seed sets of consumer insights into very large national projections. And we're going to start to see those data sets play together because they realize the way they're going to get selected and the rise of programmatic is by having the largest amount of coverage, even if they're only getting paid for a relatively small percentage of the total US population.
What do you think the role of programmatic will be in the future? How dominant do you think it will be?
I believe there's no questions that machines are going to make better and better informed decisions with each other. We already saw the rise of programmatic well before today's day and age in is there any inventory available? And now there's a rise of is there any inventory available that has the right context or depth of insight? I think programmatic has to be a very important concept as we think about the role of optimization specifically. So data sources have become much faster about providing the insight. No shortage of people being able to slice and dice media tactics faster and faster. But I find it hard to believe that with 1,000 different segmentations of different media delivery that you're going to be giving to large populations of consumers, that a human being is going to upload or ask questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week about all those different segmentations. So it feels very intuitive that those ID groups of people that saw creative A versus creative B, but 1,000 of them are going to be uploaded and interpreted by a machine and then responded accordingly.